Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We were looking at the Adhyaropa. So the Adhyaropa means deliberately we superimpose. The superimposition is used as a teaching methodology here. That's what we have to understand. And why should this be done? Because we have to account for whatever is being perceived, correct? There is an individual subject. There is an objective world which is perceived. And if there is a creator or a karanam for all these things, then we have to also talk about that. So any darshana, any philosophy also, even in Western system, I don't want to use philosophy for our Indian, whatever Indian darshanas which we have. All these, whoever is making some speculation or even our whatever our Shastra also is revealing, in all these cases, we have to talk about the subject, object, the perception of the objective world, the perception of the subject also, correct? Subjective states also we are perceiving. And then if there is a creator for all these things, the Jagat Karanam also has to be talked about. So, even though Brahman is revealed as Ekam Eva Advitiyam, that's how the Shastra starts, correct? Brahman alone is there. And that Brahman itself, the Surupa Lakshana is given. What is the nature of that Brahman? Means it is Satyam Jnanam Anantam, it is said. Okay, Brahman is there, Shuddha Chaitanyam. But what about all the things I am seeing? And what about me as an individual who is an embodied conscious being, who thinks that I am only there in this body? And because of that, I have all sorts of problems, because obviously the body, whether it's the physical body or the Sukshma Sharira or the subtle body, all these things, if you take yourself as these bodies, all their limitations are your limitations. Then you are bound to suffer. There is no other way. So these things have to be accounted for. You have started saying that Ekameva Advitiyam Brahma is there, which is also Anantam, it is limitless. But then what about all this world in which we have limited objects and apparently limited subject? So that's why the connection has to be shown. What is the connection between Brahman and the world? So for that we are saying Brahman, from Brahman alone, this entire world has come. Okay. So Brahman is the Karanam, Jagat Karanam. That's how Shastra presents. And this Jagat Karanam means how did it become all these things? Means then there is a prakriya is there. There is a certain way in which all these things have come about. So we say that from Brahman, Shuddha Chaitanyam Brahma, when it becomes Sarvajnam, when it identifies with all knowledge, then it becomes Ishvara. So, but the Ishwaratvam in Brahman itself is only Vidya. That's what we have to understand. The Jagat Karanatvam also is Vidya. The status of being the cause of this world itself is only an appearance, because that status itself is to only explain away this appearance. Understand that. So Brahman is Jagat Karanam when the identification with all knowledge is there. And then from there everything starts. Then there is a desire to create, Then all the Pancha Mahabhutas are there, starting from Akasha, from space onwards. Then initially they are themselves, they are Tan Matra, we say. Then there is this, in the Upanishad we have Trivrit Karanam, but then we extrapolate it and say Panchi Karanam. Then they mix up with each other, and then that's how the gross Akasha, Vayu, Agnihi, Apaha, Prithvi, these 5 elements are born, starting from space onwards, correct? Space, wind, fire, then water or liquids, and earth. So we have these things, and from there then all the elementals we say. Okay, once the compounded elements are there, from there the entire world is nothing but an elemental, including your own physical body and mind. But then what about the subject? I take myself as so many different things. In fact, that itself is a wonder that people don't even analyze that I am taking myself as so many different things at different points in my life. But 99% of the people are not even analyzing about that, whether it's all proper, whether there is any truth in that. So what about the subjective superimposition? Means that also then we talk about, because there is only Atma, Pratyegatma is there, which is pure consciousness, but that Pratyegatma is taken as so many different things, starting from even one's putra or whatever children who are external really. Then it starts with the physical body. Then we say, what about all the indriyas? So identity is there. We place the I, the locus of, the locus can be anything. Different things are locus, where we place the I. Starting from indriya, prana, manas, buddhi, all these things. And finally, Anandamaya also, what is known as Anandamaya. So different people have different ideas about this self also. There is no unanimity. Each one negates the other. There is confusion. Therefore, we show both these superimpositions. The objective superimposition, subjective superimposition, then do negation. How do we negate? Negation is very simple. The karya karana prakriya is there. That's why the karya is mithya, karana alone is satyam, and the karana also, what kind of a karana it is? Initially we say it is abhinna nimitta upadana karana. That means it is both the maker and the material. So although it is the material does not change to become something. Correct? There is no vikara. It's not a vikara or a parinami upadana karana, we say. Correct? There is no vikara or change or modification. The karana, being the karana, appears as the karya. That is the teaching. That is what we call vivarta. Vivarta upadana. Vivarta means swarupa aparityagena rupantara apattihi. Without giving up its own nature, it appears as the karya, as something else, as different names and forms. By showing this, what happens now in the reverse order, we say, okay, world is mithya because it is nothing but its karana, which are all Panchamahabhuta. Panchamahabhuta itself is mithya because it's only the tanmatras are there. And tanmatras also are mithya because only Ishvara is the Jagat Karanam. Ishvaratvam also is mithya because Brahman Shuddha Chaitanyam alone is the Adhisthana for everything. Okay. Brahman alone is there. Everything is only an appearance in that Brahman, including your subjective and objective worlds. Everything is an appearance. So that is what finally we saw, correct? Etad ajnanam Ajnana upahitam chaitanyam cha ishwaradikam etad adhara bhuta anupahita chaitanya rupam turiyam brahmamatram bhavati. So finally we say that Brahman alone is Satyam, it is there. All the others are only appearances. By saying this, this is what we call Badhayam Samanadhikaranyam. This is called. So this entire Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, when we say, all that is here is Brahman. What kind of sentence is this? It is not like saying rose is red. Rose is red means there is a substance, there is a dravya. In that there is roseness also guna is there, redness also guna is there, we can say. Both are in the same dravya or locus or adhikarana. So samana adhikaranyam is there, we say. But that is simply a visheshana visheshya bhava sambandha we are showing. Means we are showing that there is a substance and it is having relationship with its own qualities, which are gunas or visheshanas. So there is a quality and there is a qualified. So the qualified object is related to its own qualities. That quality and qualified object relationship is shown by the sentence, rose is red. But when you say the snake is rope, you are seeing snake on the rope and you are saying snake is rope. Also it's like rose is red. But it is fundamentally a different usage because it is a negational apposition, we can say in English. It's a sentence where the snake itself is negated. When you say snake is rope, rope alone is really there. Snake is only an appearance and it is negated. Same thing here. We are doing apavada by saying all this is nothing but Brahman, Brahma Matram, Turiyam, Anupahita Chaitanyam, unconditioned consciousness, which is called fourth because of three states of experience and all are there. Therefore, we call it fourth. But really, there is no fourth or anything. There is only one. And that is Brahman alone. That is called apavada. By negating, we have now pointed out that your Pratyagatma also that is that Brahman alone. Although Brahman initially is presented as though it is something remote, correct? Paroksha. Finally, when the teaching is there, Brahma Matram means what? That is nothing, it cannot be separate from oneself, then it is Pratyagatma. So like this, beautifully, the teaching methodology, it accounts for everything. You do deliberate superimposition and negate, and then only the reality alone is left out. That's how the teaching is done. And this is what is this called? Abhyam, Adhyaropa Apavadabhyam, Tattvam Padartha Shodhanam Api, Siddham Bhavati. So, by showing this Adhyaropa and Apavada, correct? These two, these are dual case, Abhyam, Adhyaropa, Apavadabhyam. By doing this deliberate superimposition and negation, what is actually established? Siddham Bhavati means if something is established, ascertained. What is ascertained means Tattvam Padartha Shodhanam. Okay, the exact connotations you can say. Shodhanam means some kind of a analysis or their meaning, you can say. The exact meaning is, what is the meaning of Tatpada? Tat is famously from the Tattvamasi Mahavakya. Tat is the Jagat Karanam Brahma. Then Tvam also is there. I. You is I really. The students I. Teachers you. Okay. The students I and the Jagat Karanam Brahma, we come to understand both. They both actually point, okay, to the same one reality, which is the Anupahita Chaitanyam, Shuddha Chaitanyam. So that is where we arrive at. We conclude, we ascertain that by doing this Adhyaropa Apavada, we have ascertained the meaning proper meaning of Tat and Tvam-pada. And by understanding that, you have understood your own reality, really speaking. That's the thing, correct? So, by understanding this, what happens? Means he is explaining that also. What is that? So once this Siddham Bhavati, this is established, you have understood. This is what we call Akhandakara Vritti or Nirvikalpaka Jnanam and all that. Okay. Understanding this reality is called Nirvikalpaka Jnanam or Akhandakara Vritti, means Akhandam. So don't get frightened by all these terminologies. It's all very simple only, really. And it's not something different from our own Anubhava. We all experience certain things and we can easily understand all these things based on our own experience. You don't require any something special or anything. Take the simple thing. What do we mean by Akhanda? Means something which is not divided. It's partless whole. That is what is Akhanda, correct? There is no Khanda, there is no division, etc. Now, partless whole is the only thing which is a partless whole is myself, correct? I, the sense of I which I have, it is always a partless whole. Even though we place this I by mistake on things which parts like the body has parts. I place the I on the body and have Vyavara also, and in fact suffer due to that. That's another point. But even though that happens, let us say you lose one finger, then do you become 98% I? Or somebody loses an arm or leg or something, then 25% is gone. Will you say that? It's not like that, correct? I is always a partless whole. Myself, I, whatever I am always, I am intimately experiencing that, correct? There's nothing more intimate than myself to me. That I is always a partless whole, understand that? And even when you are in deep sleep also, you are that partless whole, there is no doubt about that. There is no subject-object division also. So the reality is that I am the partless whole, and that reality is always there. It's there to be recognized. It's the easiest thing to recognize, in fact. But the only problem is, due to habitual tendencies, you are not able to hold on to that. You again place the I on all this limited body, mind, sense complex and think you are an embodied conscious being and then suffer due to that. So that is where you have to do sadhana and all that, correct? It's a lifelong thing. You have till the time you have clarity, until the time this knowledge is always there, you have to do it. So you cannot ask how long I have to do this sadhana. Keep on separating. Atma, Anatma, Viveka is something for a mumukshu, for a jijnasu. It is happening all the time. It should happen all the time. That much interest if you have. So that is the important thing. So this Adhyaropa Apavada is basically this Atma Anatma Viveka only, correct? The Adhyaropa has to be negated. And you have to just comprehend yourself as you are, which is that you are a partless whole. And you are a conscious being. And you are the basis for this entire subject-object world. Okay. That's all. It's a very simple, easy thing. So that's what one has to comprehend and retain. So tatahi ajnanadi samashtihi etad upahitam sarvajñatvadi vishishtam chaitanyam etad anupahitam cha etad trayam tapta ayah pindavat ekatvena avabhasamanam tatpada vachyarthaha bhavati. Okay, he now talked about Tattvam Pada Shodhanam, correct? So now we have to analyze what is this Tatpada, what is Tvam-pada and all that, and what does it really convey when we use it in a Tattvamasi like that, in an equation. Because any equation should look apparently different, correct? 1 equal to 1 is not really an equation. Understand that. 1 equal to 1 cannot be an equation. Equation means something, some apparent differences have to be there. Even for a child, you have to say 3 minus 2 equal to 4 minus 3, something like that. It looks apparently different. You have to arrive at the identity. That's where the equation is useful. That's where the beauty of the equation is, that you have to arrive at the identity. So how do we arrive at the identity? Means that's what the Tattvam Padartha Shodhanam we are doing now. By doing that only we can arrive at the identity. In this, first what, when we talk about the Tatpada, the Jagat Karanam Brahma, three things are there. We have to say, what is that? Ajnanadi Samashtihi. That is the Upadhi, in fact. The Ajnana, etc., the totality. Ajnana or Maya, whatever you can call it. So the totality starting from Ajnana, Adi means what? Ajnana is the Mula Upadhi or whatever. Then from there everything else is there. Panchamaha Bhuta and the whole creation comes. Okay. Adi Padat, you have to take everything which is born out of Ajnana also. The totality of that is one Upadhi, that is the Upadhi. Then what? The consciousness which is manifesting in this Upadhi are conditioned by this Upadhi. Even that conditioning also is Mithya only, understand that. From the standpoint of the conditioning factor, we say it is conditioned. So like even when you say the crystal is red, that is because it is in the background there is a red flower. Now you can say, okay, a conditioned crystal is red. But does it really get the redness, or it is even really conditioned? Means no. The conditioning is also purely from the standpoint of the onlooker, correct? Like that, Ajnanadi Samashtihi Upadhi, then Upahitam, conditioned by that means. Okay, conditioning is only from the standpoint of the conditioning factor. That's what you have to understand. There is no real conditioning also. But yeah, the consciousness which is manifest there and looks conditioned means then it gets all these qualities. Ishwaratvam, Sarvajñatvadi, Sarvajñatvam, Sarvashaktimatvam, all that. Bhagavan, we say, correct? Bhagavan is sixfold characteristics and all, we talk about that. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashashriyaha jnana vairagyayoschaiva shannam bhaga itirana. So 6 things big bhaga. All these qualities are there. Starting from all Aishwarya means overlordship over everything. Then all power, virya, all glories, all fame. Then all resources, Shri. Then all knowledge and complete vairagya. No dependence on anything for one's own happiness. So this is what Bhagavan, all these qualities are there. Sarvajñatvadi, Vishishtam, one is qualified by all these things. Then that is the Chaitanya, which is Upahita, which is conditioned, only gets all this. That's why I told you, when the identity is there with all knowledge, then it becomes Ishvara. From there the whole city, etc. starts, the Adhyaropa. But there is also the Anupahita Chaitanya, unconditioned consciousness is there. These three are there. But you have to now understand by analysis, you have to separate out the other two and only understand the reality of the Anupahita Chaitanya, the unconditioned consciousness. But normally people cannot do that because unless you analyze and arrive at the correct ascertainment, you take everything as one only. Like even you take the red hot iron as just fire, correct? There is no, you don't differentiate between there is a fire, there is iron, and then the fire is there in the iron, correct? Which has become red hot now. And of course it burns if you touch it. So he gives the analogy. This analogy he was already giving, I think. Tapta ayaf pindavat ekatvena avbhasamanam. So it looks like only one, but in reality there are three things. So whatever Jagat Karanam Brahma is the Tapta Ayaf Pindaha. Okay, that is the Tatpadartha Vachyartha. Tatpada Vachyartha Bhavati means that is the direct meaning of the word Tat. Tat is Jagat Karanam Brahma. That is the direct meaning. Okay, Vachyartha means the meaning of that particular word. Every word has its own meaning. Correct? As soon as you say it is a word, you cannot separate it out from its meaning. Understand that. A word is a word only when the meaning also is automatically associated with it. Otherwise, it's only a sound. It's a meaningless sound. That's how the differentiation you should understand between sound and word. That's why Kalidasa says, Vagartha viva sampruktam. Vagartha pratipattaye and all he says. So this Ishvara and Ishwari, Jagatav Pitaro, they are like the word and the meaning inseparable. So the Vachyartha is that meaning which is automatically, invariably associated with the word. Or it's something called Shakti Vritti, and also they say some people. It has every word has a certain Shakti, its power to reveal a meaning, an object. Correct? So Tatpada Vachyartha is that Jagat Karanam Brahma, or you can say it is all these three things, the Upadhi, the Upahita Chaitanya, Shuddha Chaitanya, everything appears as one to you. Then what? Etad Upadhi Upahita Adhara Bhutam Anupahitam Chaitanyam Tatpada Lakshyartha Bhavati. Then there is something called Lakshyartha or Lakshana Vritti you have to use. Correct? Shakti Vritti, when you use, you get the Vachyartha. Then Lakshyartha means intended meaning, you can say, not the direct meaning. Because many times direct meaning does not make sense. Okay. But there are classic examples for all that, correct? Even you go to a hotel. Later on, I go somewhere to have breakfast. I said, bring idli. So if you literally take bring idli, they should just get 2 idlis and give it to you in your hand, correct? Nobody does that. When you say bring idli, the Vachyartha does not make any sense. In fact, then the hotel will not run. If the waiter brings you 2 idlis and gives it to you in your hand, you will throw it on his face only, I think. So how do they bring them? They bring it with a plate, chutney, sambar, everything is added. Then they bring idli also is there. So this in Sanskritam is called Ajahal Lakshanam. Idli also is there, but idli alone you don't bring. You bring along with certain things. Okay, you retain the original meaning, you add some more. The classical example is Shveto Dhavati, white is running. You go to a farm, there are many horses. Then you say white is running. Means white horse is running, correct? But we just say white is running. This usage is there in every language also. So there also you have to supply additionally the harshness also. It's not just whiteness alone is running. The white horse is actually running. That is called Ajahal Lakshanam. You keep the white also, you add the horse, then it makes sense. Because white alone cannot run. White, the color is not going to run anywhere. It doesn't have any activity. The guna does not have any kriya. Only the dravya is the adhara for the kriya, correct? So the lakshyartha, when we say the intended meaning, can come in different ways. In fact, that also we'll see later. Like you add something, or you remove whatever is there existing totally and replace it with something, or you give up only a partial meaning. Part of the meaning you give up, you retain a part. That is called Bhagatyaga Lakshana or Jahajahal Lakshana, it is called. So all these different lakshanas you can use and arrive at the intended meaning, lakshyartha. So when we talk about the tatpada also, particularly in the equation, you cannot literally take the tatpada. You have to see the intended meaning of the tatpada is anupahitam chaitanyam. The pure consciousness alone is the intended meaning there. That means you have to give up all this sarvajñatvadi guna. All the visheshanas are out. And only Shuddha Chaitanyam alone you have to take as the intended meaning which is revealed when we say Tattvamasi. Okay, this is the Tatpada Shodhana. This is what, okay, you understand the Tatpada Vachyartha and then how it is not going to work in that equation, because the Tvampada Vachyartha is completely contradictory to the Tatpada Vachyartha, correct? Tatpada Vachyartha is Sarvajña, Sarvashaktiman, etc. Tvampada Vachyartha, he will come, in fact, that's what is next, I think. Let us see that. Ajnanadim Vyashtihi Yetad Upahita Alpajñatvadi Vishishta Chaitanyam Yetad Anupahitam Cha Yetad Trayam Tapta Ayah Pindavat Ekatvena Avabhasamanam Tvampada Vachyartha Bhavati. Now this is something our intimate experience. Ajnanadi, Vyashti Ajnana is there, that is the Upadhi. And here also the embodied being, I as an individual conscious being, Alpajñaha, I don't know anything, I know very little. Alpashaktiman, I cannot even sit for 10 minutes, back is paining, all that. Okay. So it is totally opposite. There Sarvajñatvam, etc. Here Alpajñatvam. Okay. So in English, Swamiji used to say, my Guruji, that is all knowledge, this is small knowledge, he will say. So all knowledge, small knowledge, like that. It's totally contradictory. There cannot be any equation then. With the Vachyartha, complete contradiction is there. But even here, what? There is complete, this is what is Ajnanam. You don't even analyze the I. When the I is placed on the body also, it is fine. I is placed on the prana also, I am hungry, I am thirsty, that is fine. I am an idiot, I am knowledgeable, all that also, I am angry, I am feeling love, I am feeling disgust, I am whatever. So many things I want, I don't want, I love, I hate. Everywhere I is there. I is used indiscriminately, or I is placed indiscriminately all these places, but no discrimination, no analysis. You take yourself for granted, and the life is also gone. In fact, Punarapi Maranam, again, Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. Maranam happens, again another life, that like that it's a vicious cycle, it keeps on going. Unless in some Janma, due to some Punya, you start questioning your own self-identity. Correct? So, if you don't analyze, then all these three are there. Even at an individual level, there is I as Shuddha Chaitanya, the pure conscious being. Then there is this Shariratraya Upadhi is there, and the consciousness which is appearing in this Shariratrayam, and which is taken as the individual I, and all the Vyavahara is happening because of that. These three are like Tapta Ayapindavat. Again, it is like red hot iron. Undiscriminatingly, we just take it as one. Okay, that's how Vyavahara happens. That is the Tvampada Vachyartha. When Tvam we say, or you, when the Guru says you, that you is all these three put together. It's a kalapa, the compound of all these three things. Okay, here also what? Yetad Upadi Upahita Adara Bhutam Anupahitam Pratyag Anandam, he says. See, here he said what? Anupahitam Chaitanyam directly, but with reference to the individual, the author is very intelligent. He is using now Anupahitam, not Chaitanyam. He says Pratyag Anandam, inner Ananda, because Ananda alone is Purushartha. Understand that. What everybody desires at the end of the day, I want to be happy. I want to enjoy. So Ananda is the Purushartha. And this inner self is nothing but Ananda alone. It is all unallied Ananda. It is the source of all happiness. It is the happiness even which is experienced. Even the experiential happiness is only a matra. Matra mupaja jivanti and all Upanishad says. So it is Ananda. And it is Turiyam, it is also Chaitanyam. That Chaitanyam alone is Ananda. Okay. That is the Tvam-pada Lakshyartha. The Tvam-pada Lakshyartha. That is the intended meaning. So in both cases, the intended meaning is Chaitanyam. That is how the Asi, the identity, is established by giving up the Vachyartha and looking at the Lakshyartha. Only we can arrive at the identity. So the apparent differences have to be given up. When you are trying to establish the identity in an equation, you give up the apparent differences and arrive at the essential identity. So here, the Vachyartha we give up, we analyze and arrive at the Lakshyartha and find that Lakshyartha is one and the same. There is really identity there. And that is what is Mahavakya. He says, Atha Mahavakyarthaha Varnyate. So now, having talked about the Vachyartha, Lakshyartha of Tattantvam, now we will be talking about the Mahavakya, the equation, the great equation, great sentence and all that. Okay. Traditionally, people say there are 4 Mahavakyas associated with 4 Vedas and all that. That's okay. But actually, there are any place where the Upanishad is teaching this identity is a Mahavakya. So there are n number of Mahavakyas. There are not just 4 and all that. So we will see that. And we are already seeing when we are studying different Upanishads, we do see that. And even in Bhagavad Gita also, there are many places Bhagavan is having this Mahavakya where he is talking about the identity. So now we are going to discuss this Mahavakya or explain this Mahavakya. What is that? Idam tattvamasi vakyam sambandha trayena akhandartha bodhakam bhavati. So by this tattvamasi, when we take this Vakya, it has to be analyzed using 3 types of relationships we have to see, because the words are there. Any word, for it to become a sentence and convey a meaning, there has to be sambandha between the words, correct? There has to be certain relationship between the words. And typically, the verb is the main thing. The nouns are all related to the verb, correct? That's what we say, karaka and all that. Of course, 2 nouns also can be related to each other. That is the Shashti, Sambandha. But otherwise, generally in a sentence, nouns are all related to the verb, and also nouns can be related to each other and all that. That's how the sentence meaning finally is, we understand based on all these relationships. So here, Sambandha Traya is saying 3 types of Sambandha we have to look at. And based on that only finally we understand Akhandartha Bodhakam Bhavati. It then reveals to you, it conveys to you. This Akhandartha means that I am a partless whole. I am limitless, partless, conscious being who is the whole, correct? Who is Purna. That is the Akhandartha Bodhaka. That is my very nature. So that is understood. So it reveals that, and then you can understand that by looking at 3 different types of relationships. Okay, so I don't have to talk about that here because the author is very thorough, correct? Anything he introduces, he immediately explains. So what he now says, Sambandha Trayam Nama, what are these 3 Sambandhas, relationships? One is what? Padayoho Samanadhikaranyam. So Samanadhikaranyam I briefly talked about already, correct? Two words pointing to the same locus means then they are in Samana Adhikarana. Adhikarana means locus or a place or whatever, or a location. And Samana Adhikaranam means what? Two words are pointing to the same location or same locus or same object, same substance. So they are in Samana Adhikaranyam then. When they are pointing to the Samana Adhikarana, they are in Samana Adhikaranyam means they are pointing to the, they have the status of pointing to the same location or same locus. Okay, then what? So between the words, this Samanadhikaranyam are there because Tattvamasi, when we say, it is like rose is red only, correct? This is also an appositional statement. In any appositional sentence, there is always this Samana Adhikaranatvam is there, pointing to the same locus is there. So the words have this relationship. Then the meaning of the words, what relationship they have? Means Padartha Yoho, because in one case the Vachyartha, when we say Padartha here, basically he is talking about Vachyartha only. The direct meaning of the words Tat and Tvam also have certain relationship. They have the Visheshana Visheshya Bhavaha. Visheshana Visheshya Bhava Sambandha is there. One is a Visheshana, another is the Visheshya. Qualifier qualified relationship also we have to understand. When we see the Vachyartha is pointing to a certain qualifier and qualified relationships. Of course, the Tsampada Vachyartha and Tatpada Vachyartha are contradictory. Therefore, the Visheshana Visheshya Bhavaha we have to give up. First, we have to understand that and see the contradiction, give it up. Then what? Pratyagatma Lakshanayoho Lakshya Lakshana Bhavascha. Then we have to see the intended meaning. And that is the Pratyagatma Lakshana. So the Atma, which is nothing but a conscious being. So the actual intended meaning is only Shuddha Chaitanyam, Anupahita Chaitanyam, unconditioned consciousness, pure consciousness alone. And so that being the intended meaning, there is a Lakshya Lakshana Bhava also is there. So there is a Lakshya, there is a Lakshana. What Lakshana we will use? Because if Vachyartha is not possible, you have to use some kind of Lakshana. And based on that Lakshana only, you understand the intended meaning, which is the Lakshya. Is it clear? So Lakshana Lakshya Bhava also we have to understand. Bhava Sambandha. So the Sambandha Traya we have to look at. And then only you can understand the proper, that equation properly. Okay. Now, is the author making up all these things himself? Means no. He always quotes, correct? So Taduktam Samanadhikaranyam Samanadhikaranyamcha Visheshana Visheshyata Lakshya Lakshana Sambandha Padartha Pratyagatmanam. So this is from Naishkarmya Siddhi. Naishkarmya Siddhi is Sureshwaracharya's great text. In fact, in our 3-year course also with Swamiji, we study it almost as the last text. Along with Brahma Sutra, we study Naishkarmya Siddhi. So this is quoted from there, the 3rd chapter of Naishkarmya Siddhi. So there also Sureshwaracharya also is talking about the same thing. He is saying Samanadhikaranyam, Visheshana Visheshyata, Lakshya Lakshana Sambandhascha, all these three. What? Then Padartha Pratyagatmanam. Pratyagatmanam. Okay. Pratyagatmanam. Padartha, like this. The meaning is given. So we have to take the Sambandha. Samanadhikaranyam, Visheshana Visheshyata, already I explained, Lakshana Lakshya, all these are there. Okay. And then what they, based on this only, this Pratyagatma is the Padartha, like that we will understand finally. The meaning By taking up all these three things only, finally we arrive at the intended meaning. The padartha is pratyegatmanam padartha. Okay. So the padartha you will understand, and then that is nothing but this pratyegatma, one's own self. So he is quoting that. Then he goes. So now he has introduced this Sambandhatraya to you. Each one has to be now talked about in detail, correct? So Samanadhikaranya Sambandhaha Tavad Yatha Soyam Devadattaha Ityasmin Vakye Tatkala Vishishta Devadatta Vachaka Sashabdasya Etatkala Vishishta Devadatta Vachaka Ayam Shabdasya Cha Ekasmin Pinde Tatparya Sambandhaha. Okay. So Samanadhikaranya means what? The Samanadhikaranya Sambandhaha Tavad means now we take this Samanadhikaranya Sambandha. What is that? The stock example for that is Soyam Devadatta. This is that Devadatta. In fact, later on today, I am going to meet my college mates and all them. So some of them I am meeting after college now. Okay, or I'll be meeting after 30 years. So they will say, this is that Jai Shankar. Means then I was so different. Correct? That's what he is saying. Soyam Devadattaha iti asmin vakya. In this vakya, in this sentence, what? Tatkala Vishishta Devadatta Vachaka Sashabdasya. So the Saha is there, correct? The Sashabda. The Sashabda, Saha here, is pointing to what? Tatkala Vishishta Devadatta. At that time in college, maybe I was very different, black hair. Then also I had long hair, but the hair was black, but no beard. Looked much younger, etc. Okay. So that is pointing to the Devadatta qualified by that time, that location, whatever. So the Sashabda is pointing to that. Then what about the Ayam Shabda? So I am this. Okay, this is that Devadatta means that is pointing to some past where Devadatta was very different. Now this Devadatta, some of them may not even recognize me now if I go. Okay, so this Devadatta is Etat Kala Vishishta. Right now, this Devadatta is qualified by current place and time, etc. Totally clothes are different. The look is different. All this, you can say Bhasma and Kumkumam. In college, I didn't have any of these things. So, no, then how can you say both are Devadatta means? Because that is actually pointing to a Devadatta with certain qualities. This is pointing to a Devadatta with some other qualities, completely different. Then how can you say this is that Devadatta? What is the meaning of that is? Is not possible if you keep holding on to all those qualifications based on space and time, correct? So this is why this Samanadhikaranya is there. That also is pointing to Devadatta only. The locus of that word is Devadatta. Locus of this word also is Devadatta. But how both of them cannot be in Devadatta at the same time? Because they are totally contradictory. That is why it is not normal Samanadhikaranya. So here we have to use Lakshana. It is not just a simple Visheshna Vishesha Bhava Sambandha like rose is red, like already I told you, correct? When you say this is that Devadatta, it is not like rose is red. Here also, it is not like snake is rope also. Snake is rope, you totally have to give up the snake and only take rope, correct? But here, you have to do Bhagatyaga Lakshana, like we say. Bhagatyaga means what? At that time, all the qualities of Devadatta you have to give up, all the gunas, everything. Right now also you have to give up all the gunas, all the associations, all sambandha, dravya, guna, kriya. In that only the dravya you retain, guna, kriya, everything, all the sambandha you leave. Just understand the Devadatta as a person, the Swarupa, Devadatta Swarupam alone you understand. In fact, that is what is called Nirvikalpaka Jnanam. See, Nirvikalpaka Jnana means everybody thinks that it is some kind of some mystical experience and all that. It is not, nothing mystical about it. All the time we are having both Savikalpaka Jnanam, Nirvikalpaka Jnanam. Okay. So technically in the Shastra, Sambandha Avagahi Jnanam is called Savikalpaka Jnana. A Jnana which is revealing to you the connection, the Sambandha either between Guna, Dravya and Guna, Dravya and Kriya, Dravya, Guna, Kriya, all of them. Also it can show you the Sambandha. So Sambandha Avagahi means what? You are cognizing the relationships between different things. And that itself is the basis of your cognition. Then it is Savikalpaka Jnanam. But Nirvikalpaka Jnanam means like the Swayam Devadatta. There is no Sambandha, there is nothing. It only reveals the Swarupa of Devadatta, correct? You have to give up all the Sambandha. All the gunas you have to give up. All the kriya also you have to give up. Only understand the Swarupa. Whenever you understand the Swarupa of anything, that is really Nirvikalpaka Jnanam, because there is no connection there. You have to understand the thing as it is. When you are understanding a thing as it is, that is Nirvikalpaka Jnanam. There is no Vikalpa there. There is no connection itself is not there with anything else. Only the connection can bring Vikalpa. So it's a partless whole you have to understand. That is the Swarupa. Swarupa of anything is really partless whole. Understand that. And which is nothing but Brahman. In the end, if you further take it one level, which is the only partless whole reality which is there. So, like this, what? Ayam Shabda has its own meaning and Sashabda has its own meaning. Both are pointing to the same Pinda, same individual. Okay, so that is why it is Samanadikaranya. Okay. Similarly, the Samanadikaranya is there in Tattvamasi also. He is pointing that Tathacha Tattvamasi iti Vakyepi Parokshatvadi Vishishta Chaitanya Vachaka Tatpadasya. Okay, so for Tatpada, Parokshatvadi Vishishta Chaitanya Vachaka is there. Okay. The Tatpada is pointing to something remote, that Brahman, which is Jagat Karanam and all that. So also it is revealed only by the Shastra, therefore it is Paroksha, it is indirect knowledge, remoteness is there. Of course, Parokshatvadi means Adi Padat, you can add so many other things. Whatever is talked about is the Jagat Karanam Brahma. The Chaitanya, which is presented as Jagat Karanam Brahma, is the Tatpada Vachaka. And what about the Tompada? Aporokshatvadi Vishishta Chaitanya Vachakatvam Vachaka Tompadasya Cha Ekasmin Chaitanye Tatparya Sambandha. So here also Tatpada also is pointing to Brahman, which is Chaitanya, correct? Which is Satyam Jnanam. Jnanam is there. Prajnanam Brahma. Jnanam. Vijnanam Anandam Brahma. All these Vakyas are there. Upanishad is always presenting Brahman as Vijnanam, Prajnanam, all this. Jnanam. Jnaptihi. Jnana, pure consciousness. That is the Adhikarana. And Tvam also, you or I is also a conscious being only. It is always pointing to this consciousness. Both are pointing to the consciousness. like how Soyam, Saha and Ayam are pointing to Devadatta, Tat and Tvam are pointing to the same conscious being. So Ekasmin Chaitanya, in one Chaitanya only, both these words are actually pointing. So there is Samana Adhikarana. Samana Adhikaranata is there, or Samana Adhikaranyam is there. Okay. Therefore, Samana Adhikaranya has been explained now. Both Tat and Tvam, because of Asi also is really meaning that only. Right? The Is also is making sure that they have to point to the same location. So they have this Sambandha. Samana Adhikaranya Sambandha is there between Tat and Tvam. We start from there. Rest of the things we'll see next week. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.